Hello everyone and welcome to the Christmas edition, or as Dr. Newton insists we call it, the Christmas Snowflake Party edition of Political Frenemies. We'll ask him why he insists on that in a moment. I think it has something to do with me. But welcome to Political Frenemies. This is our festive edition and it's our biggest panel ever. You can't ask for anything more than this. So, well, we'll get to the guests in just one second, but first of all, for the final time this year, I'd better say hello to him. It's Dr. Lord King, whatever, academic and former Tory defence advisor. It is the one and only, thank goodness, Dr. Chris Newton. Chris, how are you?
Hello, yeah, Merry Christmas. Yeah, I'm good. I'm eventually getting into the Christmas spirit, the festive spirit. So, so I'm raring to go now.
And are you wearing a festive jumper?
Yeah. I'm calling this my Reform Tory festive jumper. So I've got all of the shades of blue going on there.
Of course, you don't quite know which one you're actually aligned with, do you? So that's quite appropriate.
Am I a full-on Tory then? Because I've got a blue one.
Yeah,
I should have brought an orange one.
Well, and can I just point out that not only for those that are just listening and not watching, just let me tell you that I'm wearing my Santa hat here. So there we are, and then also making its debut anywhere because I only got it having ordered it a couple of days ago. My Christmas tie. So there you go. Smart. Which, if you are listening, that's not really much benefit to you at all. But anyway, there you go. So let me introduce our panel today, and we're calling, apparently according to Chris's notes here, we're calling you our fan favourite. So there you go, you're our fan favourite. Let's start off with the man, the myth, the legend, or something like that. It's author, conservative, councillor, TV pundit. Got his own podcast now. He does everything. How he finds time to actually be a councillor, I don't know. It is the one and only Matthew Goodwin-Freeman. Matthew, how are you?
Thank you very much. I'm good, Matthew. How's everything going?
Very, very well. Very excited for this. Next up, it's my very good friend, fellow Liberal Democrat, because yes, there is more than one of us, honestly, folks. Yellow Rebel YouTuber and co-host with me of our other podcast, Matthew and Andy. Do go and check out the new festive edition. It's just gone out last night. It's my very good friend, Andy Chandler. How are you, Andy?
I'm very good, everyone. Pleasure to be here, and Merry Christmas to you all. By the way, in case I don't get a chance to say that, so yeah, I'm very, very excited to be here.
Wonderful. Merry Christmas to you. And finally, and I like to let you in on what goes on behind the scenes, so I know he won't mind me saying this, but me and our next gentleman were having a little bit of a minor disagreement on Twitter DM earlier today when I found out that that right here in Leicestershire, just up the road, the Lib Dems had lost a seat to the Conservatives. Matthew will be thrilled about that.
Yay!
Yeah. And I decided to blame the Greens because they'd suddenly come from nowhere, got into second, and the Tories had won the seat. So it's your fault, Daniel Laycock.
That's fine by me. If I was a campaign manager, we could have won it, actually. So I'll just let that little dice go into there. But it's great to be here. Thanks for having me on for our really snowflakey edition to the end of the year. Snowflakey edition. That's a really quite great way to put it. I'll just do woke all the way through.
Well, me, you and Andy thrice, I think. So yeah, Daniel is of course
the woke.
Daniel is of course our regular Green contributor. So yeah, Dr. Chris, come on, explain yourself. Why is this the Snowflake Christmas party?
Well, I mean, partly because it's in honour of your good self, Matthew. So we named the one last year the Christmas Snowflake special as well. So it's in honour of Matthew. But I'm a genius creative mind, and I just thought it was, something funny for Christmas.
And I'm going to also let our viewers and listeners into something else as well. So, Master Goodwin-Freeman there, we were going to be having the debut on this very podcast of his wonderful new Christmas jumper, the winner of his Christmas poll that he's been running on Twitter X. And then blooming Talk TV. Well, I shouldn't be angry about them because I'm on myself there tomorrow. So, lovely Talk TV, I should of course say. Got him in first. You've just been on there, Matthew.
Literally, I am hot off the press, have just come from Talk TV to yourselves. I ran a poll on my Twitter to get the public to vote for what Christmas jumper I'd wear on all these specials. In third place, this is a bit not PG, so if you're a child, put your fingers in your ears. It's a lovely picture of Keir Starmer, and it says, Jingle Bell End. Thank you, thank you. In second place was a wonderful one of Nigel Farage saying, Merry Christmas, snowflakes. So that's why this is not the Snowflake edition, but Merry Christmas, you snowflakes. But in first place, of course, with all my Union Jacks that I deck myself in those boughs of holly, is Yule Britannia. Britannia rules the Christmas tree. So yeah, very Merry Christmas. I'm very much enjoying it. And now, if anyone needs any Christmas jumpers, I've got far too good.
Andy, what do you
keep the Nigel Farage one?
Andy, what do you reckon? Do you want a Nigel Farage jumper?
No, who
thank you. I'm selling it now. Drop me in the DMs.
I'll tell you who might want it. I'll tell you who might want it. Dr. Chris might want it, because you never know. He seems to be moving ever increasingly towards reform.
I'll speak to Big Nige and see what he can do. Maybe we'll get it signed or something. Anyone want the son of a toolmaker, or shall I just put that back in the shredder?
Put them both in the shredder. Put them both in the shredder.
This is really harsh. This is really harsh. So, are you all up for a surprise? Are you all up for a festive surprise?
It's going to be a quiz, isn't it?
It's a quiz.
Oh no, we're not.
It is.
Oh no!
Oh, look at that! How did I
quiz.
guess?
I've done one with my music club.
Because you can't not have a quiz. I did gently suggest to Dr.
Oh yes, you can.
Oh yes, you can. Sorry. I did gently suggest to Dr. Chris that I might do a quiz, and he said, "Oh, please don't, Matthew." So that sealed it. I definitely did a quiz. Now, have you all got a bit of paper and a pen?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
Because what I want you to do.
Came prepared.
I don't want you. You get prepared. I don't want you to shout out the answer. I want you to write it down. What you think the answer is. And we're going to have questions as we go through the proceedings, and then we'll announce the answers at the end, and we'll find out who has won. Okay?
This is
Chris,
the most interactive version of the podcast I've ever seen. Brilliant.
There's me running around my flat going, oh God, there's a piece of paper.
Chris has been so excited for this, I can't tell you.
Look at the joy beaming out of Chris.
So just...
I think we needed a bit of preparation for this, like pen and paper.
Well, I like to do a Christmas surprise. I love it. So
it's descended into chaos.
So remember,
yeah.
So remember, don't shout out the answer. Don't shout out what you think the answer is. Write it down, and we'll come to it at the end of the program. So the first question is, and remember, you're just writing it down. So question number 1: who was the first former Tory MP to defect to reform in 2025? You're just writing it down, so I'll say it again. And no Googling, please. No using the interweb. No. So, who was the first former Tory MP to defect to reform in 2025? Okay.
Can you shout out proposals to throw the opposition off?
So that's the first.
Oh no.
That's the first question. And whilst you're all...
I need a second green doing this now. This is unfair for one of us.
Okay, right. So whilst you're all cogitating on that, we'll get on with the rest of the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Okay, folks, so we're going to start with a little bit of a review of this week before we then review the political year, because a few things have happened this week. We've seen the junior doctors strike, so we'll have a word on that. We've seen the government, and this is something that I welcome, and I'm sure Andy and possibly even Daniel too, the return, it looks like, of the Erasmus scheme, so we'll speak on that. And then the local elections that may or may not be happening, so we'll talk about that. But we want to be fairly quick on this because we've got the whole year to review. So, Matthew, if I can start with you. Junior doctors, have you been happy that they've been on strike or not?
No, I was on GB News the other week, just dropped that there, and I said it was an absolute shame. The fact that they got paid a 28% pay rise. Anyone else get a 28% pay rise? Anyone? No, I thought not. and then they want to go on strike again. I mean, it's just ridiculous. The problem as well is this is what you get when you give people a pay rise, but you don't put conditions on improving the work. So, you know, from my point of view, I think it's absolutely wrong that when the NHS is facing its worst flu outbreak in decades, and we know that winter is the time where the NHS is at its breaking point anyway, that they choose to go on strike. They should not get a big bumper pay rise because no one else gets that. It's just not right and it's not fair. And you can't artificially pick a date back in time and say you want your pay to be increased to levels that it would have been since then. It just can't happen. Oh, I've zoomed in there. What the heck's happened?
So that was Matthew's very strident point of view. I should just also name drop and say that I was on both Talk and GB News this week, arguing the exact opposite of what Matthew Goodwin-Freeman was just arguing. But Daniel, let's come to you. What's your take on the doctors' strikes?
Well, to be honest, I completely disagree with Matthew. It's not more a case of that they're getting a 28%, because some actually people didn't even get that within the NHS. I saw a TikTok. I'm going on to TikTok now, randomly, not GB News. That's where I go for my news resource information. There was actually a creator on there who said that they only got a 3.6% increase in their salary. And they've literally just got a letter only this week to say that their rent's going up by 3.9. So, in fact, it's a loss of earnings for them anyway, really. So we've got to remember that doctors actually work massively hard. They work probably more hours than any of us have ever done in our lives. So if they are going to strike, they're going to strike for a specific reason, and that's the reason for it. It's not just about pay, it's also about the conditions as well. So we have to remember that the unions are standing up for them too. So if we don't actually have any doctors or any nurse within NHS, we know where we're going to go. We're going to have a privatised NHS system.
Andy?
I completely agree with Daniel because they should be getting pay restoration.
You're agreeing with the Greens now. Be careful.
Oh dear! I'm a trumped-up Marxist now. No, I completely agree. I think they should get a pay rise because it's pay restoration because they've had a real-term cut since 2010. There's been a few studies that actually quite a few British doctors are now leaving the UK and going to other competitors like Australia, New Zealand, parts of Europe and America and Canada. Now, a lot of conservatives like to say, oh, but we believe in, the free market capitalism. Well, part of that is in your workplace, if you can find a better pay offer, you go to that place. And it is the role of the employer to try and keep those staff. And if we are losing British workers to other competitors like Australia, like America, then we need to be we need to be world leading on that. And they are they are paid quite not very well compared to our other developed nation counterparts. However, where I slightly disagree with probably Daniel and perhaps you and Matthew is that I do think the timing of the strike during Christmas, during the flu season, was probably not appropriate. I know strikes is about withholding labour, but given the flu epidemic that we're dealing with, I think that was probably a bit of a miscalculation, and I think the public mood might not be so thankful on that.
Yeah.
Dr. Chris.
Yeah. Speaking of Marxists, I think Matthew's wearing the wrong hat. You should be wearing the shanker. But anyway.
Oh, I haven't got it with me today.
Shocking.
But on the strikes, I think the point about it's completely the wrong time of year. The elderly is very vulnerable at this time of year. Completely wrong time. But also the point about doctors going over to the US, Australia, and so forth, countries where they have private systems. So my solution is, why don't we have a competitive system here, have private providers, have, if the NHS isn't paying enough, then have other providers compete on price, and that way the junior doctors can earn more money. But I totally disagree with the strike, and there's a finite amount of resources, and I do think there needs to be more consideration there as well.
So, my view, for what it's worth, is broadly in line with Daniel's, and to a certain extent Andy's. I think they absolutely have the right to withhold their labour, and I guess they've chosen to do so on the week when it would have most impact, and it certainly has. It's garnered a lot of attention. Look, whether it's garnered public sympathy, I guess, is something that polls will show one way or the other. But I would say that, what they want is pay restoration. They're not asking for extra. They're just asking for pay restoration back to 2017. And I think people who have our lives in their hands every single day are worth £22.50 an hour, which is all that they are asking for. Let's turn to Erasmus now, and of course, as a pro-European, this gladdened my heart this week. But I should imagine that for Dr. Chris and Matthew, they think otherwise. So, Dr. Chris, let's start with you. Come on, then. What did you think about this?
Well, I mean, if there's one policy that demonstrates that Starmer's loyalty is to the Davos class as opposed to British citizens, this is the symbolic policy that illustrates that. It's quite ironic, given that the Turing scheme, which replaced Erasmus, is far more reaching in terms of where students can go to beyond Europe. Yes, Matthew, there's a world outside the European Union, which you might want to consider. So more students actually went out to foreign universities under the Turing scheme than under the Erasmus scheme, which benefited EU students more. So how this is meant to improve British students' opportunities and so forth when the replacement scheme was much more better in that respect, I don't know. But of course, this is Starmer's way of trying to very closely get us back more closely to the EU, and maybe try and make us rejoin at some point. But yeah, the Turing scheme is definitely better.
Of course he says that, folks. Daniel, what do you think about this one?
I think this is good news. I think this is the right step to take from a Labour government. It's the only thing they've actually probably done right, to be honest, around any of the European negotiations we've been involved with over the past decade. So I think allowing students to be able to go back to European countries, to be able to work, live and study really helpfully to them, to their education and to our future as well, is more beneficial for everyone. I massively disagree that the former kind of programme worked. It did, but I think the Erasmus kind of actually enhances a more dialogue with European countries. It's not we're going to be taking this back straight away. It doesn't happen like that. You know that, Chris. We're still a decade down the road and we've got pretty much nowhere else really. So I think this is a welcome step. I'm glad it's happened. And hopefully we'll join in the next decade, Chris.
So, double T, Matthew, go on, go full on Brexiteer on us. Go on, I know you want to.
Yeah, the Matthew who spelt his name correctly. Listen here, it is.
Oh, it's Christmas. Go on.
Listen,
let him have your tea.
Rejoining the Erasmus scheme is going to cost the United Kingdom £570 million in a membership fee. £570 million. The farmers' tax, the family farms tax alone, that entire policy is only going to bring in £520 million. That's the level of what this is. We are spending millions and millions to give some students, because not every student gets the opportunity, the ability to go and study in Europe. Yeah, great. But there's other countries in the world. I completely agree with what Chris is saying. There are over 190 countries in the world. America, the whole of the Middle East, the whole of Asia. We need to be getting our young people out to the quality courses and places that benefit them the most. Ticking a box, I never went on Duke of Edinburgh when I was younger. Why? Because everybody went on Duke of Edinburgh. So it makes no difference to your employment whether you went on Duke of Edinburgh or not. And the same I'd argue with Erasmus. There is no point of, I took a semester in this university or I went here for this one. Doesn't matter. It's what you do in life. It's who you are in life. It's the fact you get up and go. So I think it's a massive waste of taxpayers' money. We're taxing pensioners. We're taxing farmers. We're taxing all of us, but apparently we're not working people. So no, I think it's a waste of British taxpayers' money, and frankly, anything that brings us closer to the EU is a worry for me as a hard supporter of Brexit, where there is opportunities outside of the European Union. We just need to blooming take them.
Andy?
Well, unsurprisingly, I completely disagree with Matthew Goodwin-Freeman there. No, I think this will bring huge, enormous economic benefits to our country. I think Brexit was the biggest act of economic vandalism, and I always say what kind of upsets me is that you have the arsonists that like to come out as the firefighters. That's why I like to say to Brexiteers, we caused this, but we can come out as the firefighters. No, I think this will bring enormous benefits to our economy. I'm in the Liberal Democrats, and we want to have a closer relationship with Europe. We actually want to have a customs union, and I think this is the right step forward. Data shows that we're losing £90 billion in GDP a year. So anything that can have a closer relationship with Europe, and yes, and Matthew does make a right point that there are, and Chris as well, that there are 198 countries. But with this deal, we've already done a deal with 28 countries just through one treaty. Right. If we had to do it with every other country, we'd have to do individual treaties. And we've seen how that's helped us with the deal with Australia, with New Zealand, where they basically laughed at us because they thought we basically got pittance, and they got loads. They got the gold basically. So no, I completely disagree. I think this is the right move, the only decent move that Labour's done when it comes to the issue with Europe.
Right, let's turn to the local elections now, and if we can just have one line from you each on this, because then we need to move on to the year that's just gone. So Daniel, let's start with you. Some elections will be happening, some elections won't be happening. It's a bit of a mess, is it not?
How can I use this really politely unless I can use the words of it's complete balls again?
Don't demonetise them.
Well, I'm going to. I'm going to completely demonetise Labour right now.
We're not getting any money.
If this happens and you don't get any money from this, blame Daniel.
That's fine. You can blame me. I'm used to being blamed. I think it's ridiculous again that they're wanting to basically remove democracy from a democratised country. That's effectively what Labour are doing yet again. No matter where you are in the country, if you're not going to be able to vote for another 2 or 3 years, that is a loss of democracy. It's simple as. We can't have this continuous cancellations, postponement all the time because people have no idea what the hell's going on as it is. So I think it's ridiculous, and I think if they're going to keep doing it, well, I think there needs to be a bloody uprising, to be honest.
Matthew, this benefits your party, does it not?
Well, no, because the Conservatives are only, I think, in a majority of, I think it's 9 of the 63 councils that are up for election. This is, in my opinion, elections should go ahead. I am up for election in May. My elections are going ahead, and I'm going to be out there on the doorstep, knocking and speaking to people and standing on the platform that I've built as a local councillor. If you're in Hatchen, make sure you vote for me. But
there are other candidates, folks, including Liberal Democrats. So,
other candidates are available. Just don't bother. The fact is that I think we should have elections. The main issue is the reason why these elections are getting cancelled is value for money. You'd be electing an entire slate of councillors, officers, and a whole organisation to set up that in 12 months' time might not exist anymore, would be dissolved. So the argument is, look, elections cost about £70,000, £80,000 in the council, and then you've got all those councillors, you've got all the officers getting on with the work, that sort of thing for 12 months. Is it worth spending that money and then getting rid of it all again in 12 months' time? The counter-argument would be, well, frankly, democracy's democracy, no taxation without representation. Who cares who wins the council again? The Labour government might flip-flop on another thing, and then actually we don't have the restructuring. Did I mention flip-flops? Yes, I did. Flip-flops. There you go.
Andy?
Oh, I think this is going to get a unanimous agreement. I feel like playing out devil's advocate here for Labour. Yeah, I completely agree. Like I said before, I think we spoke about this briefly when I last appeared. It doesn't look good for Labour. I'm sure they have their reasons, but I'm a Liberal Democrat. Democrat is in my name. I believe in democracy, and I think any attempts to delay that is just frank. and it's quite
second referendum. Didn't you want a second
Christmas,
referendum?
Matthew. It's Christmas, and I think any attempt to delay that is just not good. And I can say no more than that. I just completely agree with the panel on this one.
Dr. Chris?
Yeah, I'm worried about the precedent this all sets, and especially given the direction Labour's going in, slashing jury trials, doing all kinds of things that we didn't expect, which wasn't in their manifesto. I'm just I'm concerned that this might set a precedent for something later down the road, for example, during a general election. But it's I don't agree with this. I'm not convinced by the reorganisation as well, but that's another debate. But yeah, I don't. I don't believe that we should now routinely sort of counsel elections. It's not a good look and doesn't set a good precedent.
And following on from Chris's point there, I just want to raise, and this won't be for debate, folks, because we need to move on, but I just think it's worth saying, following on from what Chris was saying, was that also this week it's been announced that there's going to be a change to how the lobby is run in January. The lobby are the Westminster-based journalists who, I believe, twice a day, at least once a day, but I think there's one in the afternoon that's not so well attended, go to wherever it's held, and I don't know if it's Downing Street or wherever, but speak to the Prime Minister's official spokesperson and put to him whatever they want to put to him. It's now going to be the afternoon one is totally going, and there's going to be afternoon press conferences, like in public, press conferences, and then the morning ones may at times be cancelled as well. Now, I have two thoughts on this. One, I do think that Labour are clearly trying to run away from accountability. That's demonstrably clear. But I want to say something else as well, because and Andy will smile at this, because I'm always doing this. I'm always saying two things can be right at the same time. So that can be right. But I also happen to think, and maybe you can just signal with your facial expressions whether you agree with me on this or not. I also happen to think that the lobby have been too much of a cosy fleet of self-satisfied people for a very, very long time, and that actually a little bit of change for them might not necessarily be a bad thing. So we'll leave that there. Have you got your pens out?
Okay.
And I do mean pens.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So, question number 2, and remember, you're just writing down, you're not shouting out. So question number 2, and if Daniel doesn't get this right, he's going to be in trouble. How much...
Hold on, we can't have rigged elections.
How much...
We're not the Labour Party.
How much of the vote did Zach Polanski take in the contest for the leadership of the Green Party of England and Wales? Not shouting out, just writing down. So I'll let you cogitate.
Percentage or what?
Roundabout.
I'll let you cogitate. No, exactly. I want.
We get within 10%.
Exactly.
So, I'll let you cogitate on that, and we'll go to the political year. And let's start off with the government, because I mean, who else are we going to start off with? So, an easy question for you all here. Why has it all gone wrong for Keir Starmer? Matthew?
because the manifesto that they wrote before the election isn't worth the paper it's written on. I mean, if any of you have a shortage of toilet roll over Christmas, I can suggest where to find some. They had no plan for government, despite saying they had a plan for government. They have been absolutely run by the civil service, done whatever the civil service want. And I know this for a fact, because every single Conservative Chancellor was offered by the civil service, why don't you cut the winter fuel allowance? Why don't you cut the winter fuel allowance? Why don't you cut the winter... And they said no every single time. The first budget that this Labour government gets, they cut the winter fuel allowance and then have to backtrack on it. That is the difference. It is the political nuance to take on the civil service. So you've had a Labour government of people who are desperate, waiting to get into government, get the opportunity, do whatever their civil servant mates want, who they all thought were on their side, but clearly not with some of the cross briefings and leaks that we're having. And frankly, they didn't have a plan, despite having 14 years to plan for it.
And Matthew, just a follow-up question to you. I mean, as a Conservative, but just as a political watcher, I mean, what has been their worst moment this year? Can you pick one?
crikey.
That's a long list.
Lord. Yeah, do you want me to do the 12 days of Labour's failure or something? I mean, it is just the sense of broken promise, right? They have an enormous majority. They could change this country for the better, but instead they're taking drastic decisions that everyone says is changing the country for the worse. I mean, Chris has mentioned it, cancelling jury trials. We've all just said cancelling elections. Things that you would expect a autocratic regime to do, they are doing. So no, I don't think there is one bad omen for them. I think it is just every decision. They haven't realised how badly this is looking out in the public.
Andy, there's no Labour person on here, but I'm sure that Labour would say, and funny enough, I was listening to a certain other podcast yesterday, a certain one featuring a former Chancellor and a former Shadow Chancellor. And the former Shadow Chancellor actually listed off quite a number of things that I must admit I didn't necessarily realise that he said the Labour government had done. But he went on to make the point that no one knows about that because they can't sell the product. Is that what the issue is here, Andy? Not that they're not doing anything, and not that they're not doing anything that's good, but that they just can't sell it for the life of them.
Yeah, I actually am going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, because since we've got no one from Labour to sort of defend themselves, I think, there is stuff that I find that Labour is quite a unique position here because, we have got a government that have got a lot of things to talk about. And compared to the last government, it has been relatively calm. And there are things like we've seen no contraction in growth. Now, it's sluggish growth, but they've seen no contraction in growth. It's been unbroken. They fended off a lot of potential economic turmoil from the Trump tariffs and global problems. Ukraine, they command quite a relatively high standard of cabinet loyalty as well, and unity, something that never happened under the Tories for the last 5 years, in my view. And for me personally, when it comes to the renters' rights bill and the workers' rights bill, and yet for me, it's a government that comes out weaker due to, unable to really articulate a vision, and number 10's ineffectiveness to really tell a coherent narrative and sell those positive policies. And it's been outweighed by the more divisive policies that is not natural for Labour. So things like immigration, things like being sort of like tough on like the jury trials as well. Things that are very illiberal for a lot of liberal Labour people, and it comes across really, really bad for him. So, and just my final point, it's weird, Matthew, that we were talking when I went to see you about France always seems to be in a permanent state of revolution. And I guess to use an allegory for Britain, in its own kind of British kind of sensibilities, I guess, I think Britain's going through its own permanent revolution. And my only question is, does Keir Starmer end up keeping his head in the political sense by next year?
Well, it's interesting, Chris, coming to you, what Andy said there, because another of my favourite phrases this year is that I think the country is becoming increasingly ungovernable, actually, and that whoever is in power, including Reform UK, if they were to take the reins next time, will within a matter of months become pretty unpopular themselves. I increasingly think, actually, that I can see that Matthew's disagreeing, but I increasingly think that our expectations as voters are ridiculously high. We want very, very good public services, but don't want to pay the taxes that I would argue that are needed to get those. And we expect our politicians to be absolutely perfect. And I increasingly think that we are actually ungovernable. Dr. Chris, what are your thoughts?
I would say we've got a bloated state. We've got a bureaucracy which is sprawling. We have a system that doesn't work quickly, and that has been the case under Labour and for the last at least 20, 30 years. But the incoming government can change that. They can say, right, we're going to do something different. We're going to radically reform government. We're going to have different policies. We're not going to have the same policies of the last 30 years of technocratic management. But Keir Starmer is of the same mould. So he doesn't have the mindset. He doesn't have the the vision to actually think differently. So what he's doing is doing what has been done for the past 30 years on steroids. So more spending, more borrowing, more taxation, and therefore, yes, the system is broke. But also a large part of it is due to the fact you've got a leader who's visionless, who isn't very good, who comes out with poor policies, and therefore that's why you've got the situation that you've got. Until a leader comes along and says, right, we're going to change the system, nothing's going to change.
Daniel, I was really interested this week in, I believe, some comments that Zach Polanski made when he talked about and this is talking about a post-Starmer world, which I think many of us increasingly are beginning to talk about. The idea that there could be some kind of agreement between Labour and the Greens. I was quite surprised. I was quite surprised by that. What's the thinking around that? Do you know?
No idea. I don't know what on earth he's thinking, to be honest. If he wants to do that, I don't think he's going to survive as leader, basically. That sounds really harsh, but I'm being truthful here. When I saw that, I thought, what's he chatting about? Shut up! No, we're not. Why should we be doing deals with Labour when we want to replace them anyway? So it's counterproductive and it's completely codswallowed, basically.
There you go, folks. I think that was a bit of a first. That was quite a bit of criticism of Zach Polanski there. Daniel, so from Labour's left then, I mean, is there anything that, if I really have to test you or press you, is there anything that you can say that you think has been good by this Labour government this year?
Yeah. I think the only thing that there's two categories. There's one around removing the two-child benefit cap, and the other one's around getting the... eventually. Yeah, it's only taken nearly 2 years, but obviously things like to go very slow in the Labour government. And the other side to it is around the employment rights bill and also the renters' rights bill as well. Rent control bills as well. Because I think those two legislations have been watered down though because of the House of Lords. They obviously didn't have those stricter measures around within those two legislations. So I think those are the three things I think I can think of that has been good, but I think those two legislations were watered down. So I think there is a miscarriage basically going on. So I think there needs to be a lot more work to ensure those losses within that legislation is put back in at a later date and as quickly as possible.
So Andy, we've looked back. Let's look future. Let's do a bit crystal ball gazing, shall we? Now to next year. I mean, do you think he can survive next year? Because I mean, I personally think that the big test for him is obviously going to be May, where it looks like that they'll lose Wales for the first time ever. They won't regain Scotland, and they'll lose council seats in elections that we hope are going to take place across England as well. Now, someone on Sky News, I think, was saying the other day that this is all baked in now, and that therefore, it isn't a moment of danger for him in May. I think that's codswallop. I think the reality of such a result means that is a major point of danger for Starmer's leadership. So do you think we'll still be talking about him as Prime Minister this time next year?
I think he can survive, but if he is to survive, he's going to have a serious top-down change at number 10. With his communications team, with his policy team, he's going to have a proper a change around of staff, hirings and firings.
But isn't the issue him,
Andy,
isn't the issue him? Is it, I don't disagree with you, but I don't necessarily think any of that would do much good because the issue is him.
Well, I mean, it depends. Well, do we all believe in the great man theory? We can have a deep conversation about that. I like to think it's a bit multifaceted, really. It's more than just one man. But I just think, I think for Labour, it's going to be difficult whoever takes over. I think we are seeing a seismic change of politics. I think nothing's seen since the early 1900s when Labour replaced the Liberal Party of old as the main as the main party of the left. And I seriously do not think, and I hate to say this, but I don't think there's any good qualified candidates in Labour. I really don't. And I think they I don't think they're going to get out of this hole. So no, I don't think anyone's going to see Labour through into the next election. So no.
Matthew, if anything enables Keir Starmer to survive, it is that, isn't it? That although there's people kind of jockeying, there's no clear front runner. I mean, people talk about Wes Streeting, people talk about Angela Rayner, people talk about Bridget Phillipson, people talk about Shabana Mahmood, but there's no real. People talk about Andy Burnham if we could get back to Parliament. There's no real front runner, is there?
Well, it doesn't have to be a front runner. It's got to be an alternative. It's got to be change, is what it's got to be. I will just say, Andy, this whole idea of one great man theory. I mean, look at the great man Donald Trump over in America. What a man, one great man. There can be one great man. And, that's what we need in the UK. We need a proper leader, someone who's going to grab this country and shake it up for the future, put it into the 22nd century, not even the 21st. The May elections are going to be crucial for Keir Starmer. The problem is, I don't think he'll fall on the sword. He will have to be dragged out of Downing Street. And the issue for the Labour Party is their rules for a leadership contest are not as simple as it was under the Conservatives.
Great, Matthew. Thanks for that. Right, have you got your pens ready for question number 3 in the quiz? And remember, we're not shouting out, we're just writing down. So, question number 3. What was written on the MAGA-style baseball caps being worn at this year's Labour Party conference? Just writing down. So what was written on the MAGA-style baseball caps being worn at this year's Labour Party conference? As you cogitate on that, we'll turn to the right of the political spectrum, because apparently we have to do that according to what Dr. Chris has written here. So in terms of Reform and the Conservatives, Matthew, I mean, what would be your upsum of the year for the two parties? I mean, I guess that things started off not great for Kemi Badenoch, and if I was to be absolutely fair to her, I'd say that she's had a better end of the year than she had start of the year. And Reform, I don't want to suggest it's gone the other way for Reform, because they're clearly still winning elections and clearly still riding high in the polls, but maybe a suggestion that they've plateaued for the moment, Matthew.
Yeah, Kemi has definitely recovered. Her party conference speech was do or die for her, and she's knocked it out the park ever since. Her PMQ's performance has been brilliant. Her speech at party conference was brilliant. Her personal approval is increasing and increasing. So yeah, really, really interesting for Kemi. Let's see what 2026 brings. I've said all along she needs to be, more like this, more fire, more unscripted. For Reform, you say they've plateaued. I mean, they're still double what the Lib Dems are. So they are 30-something% in the polls, absolutely riding high. If there was a general election tomorrow, super majority for Reform. For them, it doesn't matter if they plateau. This is good enough. They've got to hold on to it, and that's the thing. It's whether we've seen it in the press and the stories about Nigel Farage from his childhood. We've seen them doing the digging on Reform. It's going to be really, really, really interesting to see whether Reform can hold on to this, can start fleshing out policies and plans, or whether the mainstream media is going to get their way and dig them out and dig out some dirt.
Let me turn to our other resident right-winger, Dr. Chris. Chris, in terms of Reform, I mean, Matthew is entirely right in what he says there, but there are potential issues on the clouds on the horizon for Farage, isn't there? I mean, the extra scrutiny that they're getting isn't always good for them from their perspective, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are, potential sort of banana skins that Farage could always sort of fall for. There are issues. I mean, at the moment, there's the scrutiny, there's the attacks on his past and his youth, on what he allegedly said or may not have said in the playground. There's problems with some of the local councils that they're running. There's also policy scrutiny as well. He's having to row back on some of the stuff that he's announced earlier in the year, particularly on the tax cuts. But despite all of that, he's still around sort of late 20s, early 30% of the polls. None of these attacks seem to be working. And still, despite everything that's going on in the Westminster Village, the support is still there. So that presents a challenge for the Conservatives in the sense that despite all of the positives and all of the improvements that Kemi Badenoch has made, they're still hovering around sort of the late teens. So the question is, what can Badenoch do to actually to actually translate what she's doing into increase poll ratings? It seems to me that the public's mood at the moment is that they're not listening to the Tories, they're not listening to both Labour and the Tories, and therefore Farage is the big outsider and the alternative that's they're looking at and at the moment. So it's it's a very 2026 is going to be a very interesting year on the right.
Absolutely, and Andy, I mean, look, as much as me and you, and no doubt Daniel would not like this. The truth is, as we sat here at the moment, that Reform are set to have another good year next year, and are set to sweep the boards in May. I mean, I guess my question to you, therefore, is, I mean, what can those of us parties that are in opposition to both Reform and the Conservatives, but especially Reform at the moment, I mean, what do we need to do to try and stop that from happening?
That's a good question, Matthew, because they have had a really good year. Let's be clear, it's been evident in the polls, the local elections. I think the local elections now, since they've now returned so many councils, they've proved to be actually quite bad at running them. So,
as I predicted on this podcast,
I think, bombshell there. I think that could be something we could go on. Now, they would argue that, we're a relatively new party, we need to, we haven't got the apprenticeship, we haven't got that. But politics is a dirty game, and that's what you've got to do sometimes. So if that is a weakness, we need to say, look what they're doing. They're raising your council tax bills by 10%, even though they said they were going to find savings. They're now trying to shut SEN support, which, I speak to Reform. I go to church, and it's a very diverse church, but there's 2 Reform members. They were very open about this. And it's a very loose coalition. Like, when we spoke about the mass deportation, they said, that was silly. We don't agree with that. That's a stupid idea. And now that they reversed their tax cuts, there's like, well, what about the everyman? What about, the working people? Literally, they sell these tax cut policies. Well, now because they want to be a very serious party of government, because the old tax policy was ridiculous, it would have raised the deficit and the debt to ridiculous highs, they've now changed it. But the changes they kept in are tax cuts that only benefit the very well off. And I know these are antidotes, but those Reform voters, they said to me, I don't like that. That's not what I voted for Nige for. He's the man of the people. That's how they see him. And I think that's also true. I think we need to really up our social media game. Obviously, Reform are clocking up the views on TikTok, on social media. I think we need to do that. And just be a bit more authentic. Right. I mean, I was amazed that Chris said he liked Daisy Cooper because she seems like a bulldog. And I think we need that in politics. We need people who are authentic, who can talk, who could put up a good fight. So that would be my advice to any party opposing to Reform.
And Daniel,
did I say that? I must have been drinking when I was saying.
Yeah, you did say you were being nice about it. I know.
No, I do remember saying that. Yeah.
And Daniel, is the answer to the populist right, the populist left?
Absolutely, it is. And I think we can see that. You look in the polls of the Greens at the moment, we're polling massively high. Second, third places, we're overtaking the Lib Dems in every poll. We're overtaking the Conservatives in every poll. So, and I know, Matthew, you'll turn around and say by elections.
Some polls.
You've got, yeah. That's it. Come after me. Come on, let's do it. 4 against 1. Let's do it. I think what Andy was making specifically around certain councils where Reform are running councils, voters are now seeing what they can't deliver. They said, and they were promised, they would have lower council tax bills, they will deliver services. They can't even do the basics of running a council. If they can't do a basic in Kent Council, how are they going to run a country? It's not going to happen. It's not going to work. The polls are overestimating on reform, and people are going to start seeing that in the next few years' time. And we'll start seeing with how many altogether? Like 30, 40, 50 councillors resigned because of reform when they got first elected in May. So we've had this avalanche of more elections than ever before, all because you don't have councillors who can do the job properly and who can't run a council effectively. So we are going to start seeing that counterintuitive towards like the Lib Dems and the Greens will start doing that. Labour can't do that. They're in trouble. Right. One poll in Wales basically had Labour on fourth place.
We're going to come on and talk about the nationalist parties momentarily. So thanks very much for that, Daniel. Right, fellas, get your pens back out. Here comes question number 4 of 5. In the quiz, in the Political Frenemies festive quiz, which I know you're all absolutely adoring. So here we go. Remember,
what's the prize?
Remember, the prize is being the champion, being the Political Frenemies.
You can have this jumper,
right,
the jumpers.
You can have
a jumper. Do you want the Keir Starmer one? Or the Nigel?
No one wants either.
Let's go for Nigel. Right. Go on, you win Nigel. I'll obviously lose now.
Question number 4. How many council by-elections have the Lib Dems won in 2025? So just write it down.
Just you to ask that one.
I know.
Just write it down. This isn't revealing the answer, but can I just... This isn't revealing the answer, but can I just say that it's one more than Reformers won? So stick that in your pipe and smoke it, Nigel Farage. So there we go. Okay, whilst you're cogitating on that, let's talk about the broad left of politics. Let's start off with the Greens and our good mate Daniel. Daniel, no one denies it. Quite a year for your party. From all that we can tell that's happened since, the party clearly made the right choice in electing my old mucker Zach Polansky as the new leader of the Green Party of England and Wales. He's getting about everywhere I turn. There he is. He's certainly getting out and about, which is good for him. All of that is great. And without wanting to kind of retread some of what we said last week, there are some banana skins with the Greens too, isn't there? In that when you're out and about that much and saying that much, there'll be once or twice where perhaps things don't come out of your mouth that you'd want to.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's about being a bit more sharper, a bit more lenient in terms of what Zach does. I think, as you kind of relayed as well, that obviously it's been a really good year for the Greens. Ever since September, we've seen massive surge in new membership. We're nearly at 190,000. We're edging towards becoming basically the second largest membership party in the country. So we're seeing a massive trend that has never been seen really before. And yeah, we're doing well in the polls. We're doing well in other parts of the country in terms of polls as well. Yes, we've won 24 by-elections this year, but obviously next year is going to be the critical part for us. And I think that will be the test and the testament to Zach as being leader and obviously how we operate as a party moving forward. So that will be the biggest test for the party that I think it's ever had in its 50-odd years.
And just to follow up, Daniel, I was listening to so many political podcasts, and I was listening to one about politics in Northern Ireland, and they were saying that the Greens in Northern Ireland have gone up in the polls, and they were saying that really that's, and don't mean this disrespectfully, but I don't think anything has particularly happened with the Greens in Northern Ireland. I think it's that Zach is helping Greens across the country.
It is, yeah, and they were up by a good up to 5.1%, if I remember correctly. So that knock-on effect is really starting to take effect, even in Scotland, which we'll come on to about the other countries as well. So we are seeing that effect take place, and it's fascinating to kind of see one person is changing other parts of the country. So, and you can kind of deep dive into those certain polls as well, that we are popular amongst like the under 50s across the country as well. Definitely not over 50s. You can see that in those deep dives of the polls. We're really popular in London. We're popular in parts of like the northeast, in the east as well. So there's a dynamic changing consistently within the polls, and it's about what's going to happen next. So let's see what happens. And I think the other good news as well, which you may or may not talk about tonight, is about we got a massive defection from Jamie Driscoll that came over this week. So it's a big name now in a party who's obviously run a combined authority, who obviously is going to be running for the council elections next year too. So there's massive changes within the landscape too. So it'll be interesting to see what the next 12 months in 2026 brings.
Andy, what about the Lib Dem year? Our MPs have kept beavering away, our 72 MPs. But I think me and you have felt at times, and again, maybe we're not correct because we have won all of those council by-elections and those are real votes put in real ballot boxes. But I think me and you have felt at times that I don't even know quite how to put it, that we're not as out in front as we could be. That sometimes perhaps we can be a little bit forgettable. Do you think?
Yeah, I think partly is due to media culture. I think obviously the government will dominate the media, but I think reform dominate the media, and it can be really hard to get our elbows in. So I think I think it'd be quite easy to just blame the media. But I think the fact that Zach Polanski is getting this attention, I mean, he's been appearing on Question Time. I've seen a lot of him on Question Time. So the media obviously see an appeal to him. They think, oh, well, he's someone that will grab, viewers' attention. Right. So I think we need Ed to really step up that, or at least Led needs to lean on other people within the Liberal Democrats. Like I said earlier about Daisy Cooper, I think she'd be good if she would take more of a leading role when it comes to press release and media appearances.
And we've got Josh. We've got Josh Babarinde right now too, the new president. He's very good.
Absolutely. But I think we also need to probably really carve out what we stand for as well, because there are moderate Labour people who say, I would love to join the Lib Dems, but what do you stand for? And if I'm being honest, it can be a bit up in the air sometimes. We're very pro-European. I tell them that. I say we're pro-European, we're internationalist, and we are liberal in terms of civic, judicial values and civil liberties. But on economics, it can be a bit everywhere. But I suppose my final point is, well, we'll give credit to Ed, and I think Ed does lean on this, is that he's able to use he's able to capture the anti-reform rhetoric, and he's really leaning in on that, and it is getting quite a lot of appeal. And I think, and also reminding people about Brexit as well, because that doesn't escape Nigel Farage's lips no more. Brexit, he rarely talks about it, and I think that's where the Lib Dems could really play on those strengths and really lean in on that. But where I think we do better than the Greens is in those local elections and those local by-elections. So I think it will be very interesting come the next elections for next year, because it's all right saying you've got loads of members, but what's the point if they're not going to go out and even be a stand as a paper candidate, is what I would argue. And if it was going on membership, then the Labour Party would be dominating the government forever. So, yeah.
Watch this space, Andy. Watch this space.
I will.
Matthew, just for the jokes, I'm asking you this. Sum up your party's year for us.
Your party, fruit, nut and raisin. I mean, the Sultana part. What even? Who knows? The People's Party, the party that's probably not having a Christmas party. I mean, crikey, you couldn't make it up. It's just been a disaster, a waste of time, a waste of a lot of people's money that is sitting in certain people's bank accounts. Yeah, let's see what happens if they even get going in 2026. I mean, I thought their conference was hilarious. The fact that they were allowed to make points of orders and motions until they weren't allowed to make points of orders and motions. I mean, it really is student politics.
It is indeed. Right, have you got your pens? So this is the final question.
Oh, so can I just say something on this section?
If you have to, go on.
So, yeah. No,
Have you got a motion for that?
Just a recommendation for the Lib Dems on how they might want to create a more of an impact. I'm giving out free advice here to the Lib Dems. I'm not quite sure why I'm doing this, why I'm volunteering this. But this will blow your mind, Matthew and Andy. This is a completely radical new solution that might help the Lib Dems, and that is actually ask Keir Starmer a tough question at Prime Minister's questions. Holding him softballs every single week in the hope that you're going to form a coalition with him with Labour in 2029.
Yeah.
I will agree with you there, Chris. I think there's nothing wrong with Ed being statesman-like, but he's allowed 2 questions, right? So I think you should do a statesman-like question and then do a bit more of a bold. So actually, because it's Christmas, I agree with you, Chris. Yeah.
There you go.
Miracles can happen at Christmas.
Agreeing with Chris at Christmas. Right, have you all got your pens?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, right. So here's the final question in the quiz, and remember, just writing it down. So, and finally, as of 17 minutes to 6 today, how many views had our most watched ever video on YouTube had? That's the question.
Oh.
And it was the one where Andy was the guest, bless him, and it was the one where I was talking about. It was the one where I was talking about my confrontation with a certain Mr. Wesley Streeting. So there we go. So that is question.
This is full length, for clarity. Full length episode, not shorts.
Full length, not shorts. No, full
length.
Not the shorts. Not the shorts.
I remember what it was the other day, because the day it took over, I had to obviously go and have a look. So, probably added 1 or 2.
Well, there you go. So, finally, and literally just a couple of sentences each on this, if you don't mind, I just wanted to talk about the devolved nations and the devolved administrations, because it does appear that next year, unless something changes between now and then, and of course there's always the chance that it will, but it looks as if the SNP will continue to control Scotland, either in majority or with some kind of arrangement with the Scottish Greens. That Wales, for the first time ever, will not be run by Labour, or at least predominantly not run by Labour, because it looks as if Plaid are going to be the main party, and that potentially, I mean, who knows, but that potentially Labour could be completely locked out of power if I was listening to another, just spent my whole week listening to political podcasts, but they were saying on one of them this week that if the Lib Dems and the Greens can just raise our game by a couple of more percentage points in Wales, that we could see a Plaid Green Lib Dem administration in the Senate, which would see Labour completely locked out of power, or more likely it'll be a Plaid Labour administration, but with Labour very much as the minor party in Wales. And of course in Northern Ireland we have a situation where they don't have elections next year, but we have a situation where Sinn Féin for the first time are the main party in administration there. So Matthew, I mean, I guess especially for you as such an ardent supporter of the UK, I mean, it's not looking good, is it, for the future of the UK?
Well, it's good that we're in a multi-party system and Labour are getting pummeled through the floor. I think that's fantastic. That's the early Christmas present we all want. It's going to be interesting to see if the SNP hold on in Scotland. I think there's more to come in Scotland than just I think you are right with the SNP are going to struggle and actually have to have some sort of coalition or something. Seeing Labour finally lose Wales after a century of power is going to be something interesting. You could end up with a Plaid reform real mix over there, which would be really interesting to see. But no, we live in a multi-party system. Nothing is for granted. Well, the only thing that is for granted is the fact that Keir Starmer will keep reminding you that he is the son of a toolmaker.
Right, so I literally want just a line from you now, guys, if you don't mind. So, Chris.
Yeah, I would just echo what was just said there. Yeah, it's not good news when nationalists gain power. I know this is a nationalist section, but of course the one big thing to watch is how Reform does in these elections. You know, given that they're polling highly in both Scotland and Wales. So there will interesting times ahead.
Daniel, fancy being potentially in administration in Wales after next year?
Well, let's see what happens. I think the latest poll put us on that we would maybe get 5 or 6 seats. So I think I think in one poll they were saying we will get maybe 1 or 2 seats. So I think polls are massively changing for us in Wales, and I think in Scotland, one poll said that we'll get 17 seats, or highest ever amount of seats for the Greens ever. We'll be tied with the Conservatives in Scotland, so that could be really interesting.
And Andy, in terms of the Lib Dems, I mean, I see some polls that say that we're going to be totally wiped out in Wales, and I see others that we're going to have at least 2 seats. So, not sure.
Yeah, I mean, it traditionally used to be a very strong Liberal area from the times of old, and we used to be quite competitive between us and Labour. I think it just shows the kind of the changing nature of the politics in regions outside of England. So. And I suppose really the kind of anti-politics and the rot. But I just wanted to really say, I found it interesting when Daniel earlier said that they would not do, when Daniel said earlier he preferred not to do deal with Labour. Now, if in Wales there could be in a possibility of doing a coalition with Labour in the Senate, I do ask them, and it does make me think, do they want to be a party of government, the Greens, or do they just want to be in permanent opposition? So I think Wales and perhaps Scotland as well, they have been in coalition, and it is a separate party, it's a sister party in Scotland. But I will find the Welsh elections very interesting about what the Greens will do with that. Will they want to work constructively in government, or will they just want to be in permanent opposition? So I'd say watch this space, really.
Daniel, very quickly in reply.
Yeah, so I would say on that front we would be more than happy, and we have done before. We had an alliance with Plaid Cymru in previous elections, so I would say that we'll probably more be aligned with Plaid Cymru, especially around the independence question as well there.
Right, guys, are you ready for the results of the quiz? Oh, I'm so excited about this. Okay. So, well, I just need to think how we're going to do this, but you need to be honest about what you put down, folks, okay? So, okay. So the answer to question 1, so just to remind you, it was who was the first former Tory MP to defect to Reform in 2025? And the answer was Marco Longhi in January of this year. Did anyone get that? Did anyone get that?
No. I thought I had it with Alan Amos in March, because I remembered that. He was like an MP in the 80s and then went to Labour and then back to the Conservatives. But damn it, I forgot in January.
Okay, so no one got that. Okay, so question number 2. And if Daniel doesn't get this, he's in trouble with his boss. So how much of the votes did Zach Polansky take in the contest for the leadership of the Green Party of England and Wales? And the answer was 84.6%. Oh, it's great.
Can we have within...
I literally have 84%.
There you go.
I put 80. Does that count?
I put 80.
I got 75.
No,
can we have a half point for 80?
Daniel gets the point for that one. Well done, Daniel. Okay. Question 3 was what was written on the MAGA-style baseball caps being worn at this year's Labour Party conference? And the answer was "Build, baby, build."
Yeah. I didn't get that, but do you want to know what my answer was?
Go on.
I don't know if you're allowed to swear on it. Well, you have to edit this out, Chris. We are fucked.
I think that deserves a half point. That deserves a point.
All right, so Andy gets a half point. Did anyone actually get "Build, baby, build"?
Of course.
No, I got Make Britain Great Again. I don't know why.
Of course, it's "Build, baby, build."
So Matthew
Steve
got that.
Reed was handing them out like hotcakes.
So currently, Daniel and Matthew are leading with 1 each, and Andy's got half a point. Chris has got nothing.
Oh no! Don't give me that point.
Question 4.
Share the points
How many
around,
council
kids.
by-elections have the Lib Dems won in 2025? And the answer is 105.
Yeah, I got that.
I got
Andy,
that.
did you get that?
Yeah, I had to. I thought it was 106, and then for some reason I thought that didn't seem right. So
Okay.
yeah.
Are you with the other two? No?
I thought it was 51, so I double it and I'm close enough.
Okay.
You're not been paying attention. Not really
And
paying
finally,
attention.
so
It's
currently,
irrelevant anyway, so you know, you Lib Dems.
currently Daniel is way out in the lead. And finally, as of 1743 today, our most watched ever full YouTube had 616 views.
No way.
Damn it.
I got 1,500, so I was being quite generous there.
Thank you.
Well, I thought I was
I got
496
556.
something the other day.
Yeah,
I
I
put 600 plus. Does that
It's Christmas. I think you should have that.
I mean, hold on. By that
We'll
logic,
give Chris that point. We'll give Chris that point because that's the only one he's got, bless him. So, our winner of our quiz and the quiz champion for 2025 is Mr. Daniel Laycock. Well done, Daniel.
It's all rigged. It's all rigged.
The Greens have won an election.
Oh no, they haven't.
Oh no! Yes, they have. Guys, this has been.
I'll deal with you, Daniel.
This has been so much fun, and thanks to all of you for being with us today, and indeed for being superb guests throughout the year. We're really looking forward to having you on again next year, and I think roundabout the May. I haven't spoken to Chris about this, but he just does what I tell him anyway. I think in May next year, around the time of the elections, we might do something like this again. So that'd be really fun. But thanks to all of you, really appreciate it. Thanks to those of you for watching and listening. We are building our audience, which we're really happy about. And we've got some exciting things planned for next year as well, so do stay tuned for that, however you watch or listen. So, Chris, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. It's been a blast. Looking forward to next year.
Daniel, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back next year as well.
Andy, thank you. And as we're recording this, I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, mate, in person. Looking forward to that.
Oh, yes, and our own Christmas, yes. Oh, thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to next year, and I hope everyone has a very good New Year.
And Matthew, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great fun. You guys have been an absolute blast every single time, and I'll make sure that I get even more Union Jacks next year, but no EU flags, just to say.
I'll get my EU bauble next year.
Oh,
it's coming.
You can't beat background. You can't beat an EU bauble. And folks, please do all the internet-y things. Please like, please subscribe, please follow us on Twitter X at Political Frenemies. Please tell your friends about us, and we'll be back next year for what's set to be, and I mean this only politically, not obviously literally, but what's set to be politically quite an explosive year. So do please join us for that next year. And so from me and from us all, Merry Christmas, and see you in 2026 on Political Frenemies.